If you don't want to catch any, then you shouldn't give any. And I think that's what Representative Greene encountered on Friday. If you don't want none, don't start none.
After a wild night in the House last week, where Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett blessed us with the new insult, bleach blonde, bad built, butch body, in reference to Marjorie Taylor Greene, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went on MSNBC to reflect on what transpired. AOC was caught up in the mix on Friday night as she traded barbs with MTG and acted as a mama bear for her freshman colleague Jasmine Crockett. Still rightfully salty about MTG's nasty comments towards her, AOC kept the feud going and came up with a hilarious new insult for Marjorie. I'll show you that in a moment. But first, AOC actually provided a great explanation to MSNBC's Chris Hayes about why these rules of decorum in Congress are so important in the first place. If you're like me, you probably watched what happened last week in that hearing and were wondering, why do these members of Congress act so formally with one another? The motions and points of order just seem silly sometimes when you have people saying the nastiest things about one another on TV every night. But listen to AOC's thoughts on why these rules are an essential part of the House.
I mean, well, first and foremost, I know that a lot of folks kind of saw these clips going around that were often highlights of what had happened. But a lot of that was a result of structural changes that Republicans decided to make in real time to essentially throw out the House handbook that frankly, and the House rules for committee guidance and for committee conduct through a vote. There was actually a procedural vote in which every single Republican went down the line and decided to vote that the comments that Marjorie Taylor Greene, the disgusting comments that she made about Representative Crockett, were in fact above board and acceptable, which is rather unprecedented in the House. These rules are, they were established in the 1800s, shored up in the 1800s, after the caning involving Charles Sumner in the Senate, precisely designed to de-escalate a political culture of violence when things get too hot. And in fact, when I was a freshman coming into the House, the rules were so widely respected that there would be motions to strike a member's words, even if they just spoke in the second person and used the word you instead of the gentleman from so-and-so.
Can you imagine Marjorie Taylor Greene or any of the Republicans speaking coherently about U.S. history like this? We're lucky to have talented lawmakers like AOC who have dedicated their lives to public service. And by the way, AOC is considered the #2 Democrat on the powerful Oversight Committee. When Democrats take back the House in January, she'll be next in line to take over the committee, right behind the brilliant Jamie Raskin. Years from now, I can see her leading major investigations into things like corporate greed and causing profound changes in this country. But for now, unfortunately, Republicans still control the House. So AOC decided to use her latest moment on national television to launch a hilarious insult at Marjorie Taylor Greene and drag the entire Republican Party too.
And so Marjorie Taylor Greene, her acting, you know, like the ogre in that role is not surprising. What is surprising is Chairman Comer allowing that to be the conduct of, and not just him, but every single Republican, surprisingly, except for Representative Lauren Boebert, actually. And I think, you know, the fact that she has been subject to so much vitriol herself may have to do, you know, may have something to do with the fact, I don't know, but it could have something to do with the fact that as women, we understand the vitriol that especially happens.
It's wild that during that raucous hearing, Lauren Boebert, of all people, was the most mature Republican in the room. The bar is quite low when the Beetlejuice groper herself is the voice of reason for the GOP. Lauren Boebert hates Marjorie Taylor Greene, so I'm not surprised she voted to shut her up for the night. But let's not kid ourselves that Boebert did something heroic. That being said, I'm a firm believer that we should reward people when they do the right thing to encourage that behavior in the future. So maybe that's what AOC is doing here. fueling the divide between MTG and Boebert, causing more problems in the GOP. And at the same time, AOC is showing how a real leader steps up and finds ways to work with everyone in order to solve problems. Keep an eye on AOC. She's just getting warmed up. Big things are coming for her in the future.